Let's get to yet another objection that is inevitable when you help people understand God is not pleased with you.
That poor boy. Daddy, how can you be so oppressive?
That's the older generation's answer to everything. He gets a little tap on the head.
Oh, so now it's just a little tap, is it?
Admit it, Daddy. You're just vindictive.
You've broken his laws, and because he is a just, righteous, and holy God who loves what is good, who therefore hates everything that is bad, what's he going to do with you?
I don't presume to know, unlike you. Personally, I don't think this God you believe in actually exists, but I know what you think this all-powerful deity is going to do with me.
You're right to respond that way, but I'm trying to help you understand the way God works. He's very black and white. He's a judge, and he says if you've broken his laws, he must send people to jail. He must send them to hell for punishment. Does that make sense to you? Because I know what you're thinking.
To a point.
Yeah, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, that would be me. I would go to hell. And that's a terrifying thought. Am I correct about that?
What will the verdict be in your court case? And that's when you're about to hear, objection, Your Honor. I'm not as bad as other people.
I'll take your word for it that you hear this objection often, but as far as objections go, it's not a horrible one. You believe that this God punishes everyone who doesn't believe in it. It doesn't matter whether the person tried to live an ethical life or not. Your argument is that every human being has done something wrong, or something against your God's laws. I've seen you ask people whether they had dishonored their parents, for example, and then use their admission of guilt to drive home the idea that they deserve everlasting torment because of that. What a ridiculous argument. While I'd agree that most, if not all of us, have done things we're not proud of and wish we could take back, none of them would warrant unending torture, let alone the crime of treating your parents disrespectfully. In fact, most parents would hate this being for torturing their child on their behalf. If a child disrespects their parent, it's not God that's owed an apology, it's the parents. Honestly, it just blows my mind how stupid and harmful the hell doctrine is. Even worse is the thought that millions of people have been brainwashed and mentally tortured with this crap. Parents who themselves were victims of this doctrine then went on to inflict it on their children. These poor parents likely thought they were helping their children avoid eternal hellfire. This ghastly religious idea has the power to turn a parent's love against their own child.
The response from Don't Stub Your Toe. Michael Ross, known as the Roadside Strangler, murdered 8 teens and young women between 1981 and 1984. In an interview before his execution in '05, he said, check this out, I'm not a big serial killer, by the way. 8 people, that's nothing. There's a lot of other guys you can go see. In other words, if you think I'm a bad murderer, there are a lot of other serial killers who are worse than me. And that is precisely what the person who says, objection, Your Honor, I'm not as bad as my little brother.
No, it's not. Not unless you're talking about someone who killed 8 people. There is a world of difference between, say, lying to someone and killing them. But even if you were talking about serial killers, people who kill 4 people get a different sentence than one that's killed 25. Even within the confines of your own analogy, you're wrong. And we're just talking finite amounts of time, let alone infinite time for finite crimes. And if you add in the ideas that your God is all-knowing and all-powerful, the hell doctrine gets even more ridiculous. Because it would mean your God created and maintained the conditions it knew would result in a murder. If you add in a God that's all good, it makes even less sense, since that would mean this being created a torture pit for billions of souls, yet we're supposed to believe it's all good. But we're getting off track. Carry on.
What does that have to do with your court case? Answer, nothing. You are innocent or guilty based on you, your actions, the things that you have done or failed to do. You will never see an earthly court case where the accused criminal totes in worse criminals and says, look, Your Honor, yeah, sure, fine, but look, it's O.J. Simpson. Fine, I beat my wife, but O.J. Simpson!
Again, beating your spouse is the same as allegedly killing someone or actually killing someone. You know what? Let's just throw out the O.J. part and simplify it by making it a hypothetical person who repeatedly beat and then killed their wife. Now, do you think someone who murders their spouse is going to receive the same amount of time behind bars as someone who beats their spouse? Do either deserve torture? What would that say about us as a society if we decided to start brutally torturing prisoners? Would you consider such a society an all-good society? And yes, we have lawyers. Those lawyers will gladly point out to judges that there are precedents in place that were set by previous court cases. The justice system also distinguishes between crimes, and has minimum and maximum sentences built into the system. Your God, on the other hand, has a less nuanced approach to justice than our human-made justice systems. It sees every transgression as equal, which means everything deserves the same punishment.
Imagine a man who embezzled $2 million saying to a judge, Your Honor, I know I stole a couple million, but Bernie Madoff made off with $65 billion. Now, imagine if the judge said, I never thought of that. You're free to go. If you think that's ridiculous, you're right. It is ridiculous, my friend.
What's more ridiculous is if the embezzler told the judge that he believes in him and begs forgiveness, and the judge says, I never thought of that. Off you go then, friendo. You can sleep in my house, and you'll never have to worry about another thing. Even more ridiculous would be the embezzler asking for forgiveness, and the judge saying something like, well, someone's got to pay for this crime, so I guess I'll sentence myself to 2 years and serve the time for you.
Claiming that you shouldn't be found a guilty criminal because there's worse criminals than you has nothing to do with justice. You are without excuse. If the gavel were slammed on your court case, you would be found guilty.
If the judge were an immaterial being and the only way to get the forgiveness needed to evade never-ending torture was to believe in it, despite insufficient evidence for its existence, I think you could easily argue that you have an excuse. I mean, at that point it shouldn't even be classified as an excuse. It's a reason at that point. You would have a good reason not to believe in this supernatural judge, and it would be perfectly understandable that you not believe in this entity.
And the judge, because he is good, would sentence you to eternal conscious torment, which is precisely what you and what I deserve.
What a wretched, unethical belief system this is. It just turns my stomach.
But, my friend, there is good news for you.
Yes, the good news is that there is absolutely no good reason to believe any of this is true. Thanks for watching, take care, and cheers.
Because you know I'm all about that grace, can't earn it. I'm all about that grace, God made it. I'm all about that grace, Holy Spirit. I'm all about that grace, Oh yeah, it's pretty clear, God sure does love you. Now we can worship like we supposed to do. Cause I got that free gift that I can embrace, not from my good works.